There are multiple metaphors that you can use to understand in a very deep sense what beliefs actually are. And a belief is not just a statement about reality that one thinks is true. That is an outdated legacy definition of belief. The first metaphor or definition that I want to offer to you comes from the body of work of neurolinguistic programming, wherein beliefs are seen as programs in the psyche. So it's almost as though the brain is a computer, which, sure, in a sense it is, right? This is why this is a helpful metaphor. And you run a little executable file called I'm Not Good Enough from the moment that you wake up until the moment that you go to bed. It's one of many hundreds of different programs that are operating in the psyche, all of which are designed and intended to fulfill specific intentions, meet core needs, etc., help you navigate your social relationships and environment, you name it. And certain programs are like viruses. They actually only exist at this point in time to drain psychological and emotional resources, and they only cause harm to the overall system. So, these programs are the root cause of various emotional impulses and various thoughts, and the programs cause us to perceive incoming sense data in specific and limited ways. So, it's a program that operates in the mind and the body. Basically, in a limiting belief case, infecting all of the senses with negative data so that we can't perceive the truth that's right in front of us. Instead, we just perceive the virus, we perceive the program. And that's what comes up in our awareness, somatically in our body, and mentally in our thoughts. The ancient Toltecs had a perspective thousands of years ago that beliefs were agreements. If you ever read Don Miguel Ruiz's book, The Four Agreements, or my personal favorite, The Voice of Knowledge, which I highly recommend if you're seeking additional exploration into ancient Toltec wisdom, every belief is just an agreement about what some kind of experience means. And I mean experience through our five senses. So take the letter S, for example. The belief that this little symbol here means letter S, and for some reason that squiggle is associated with the sound S, is actually, in objective reality, completely arbitrary and made up. It's just an agreement that we have with the rest of society so that we can communicate with one another more efficiently. And so the world around us essentially requests and requires us to create thousands and thousands of agreements inside of our psyche so that we can operate within the culture and within the society and the family unit that we grow up in. And most of these agreements happen long before we're capable of thinking things through and actually consenting as we would with a contract. And so these are generally subconscious agreements that live as a general sense in the body, as a general sense in the mind. And all of it is stacked on top of each other, layer by layer, agreement by agreement, brick by brick, from the moment that we're born, and we begin the process of making sense of our family, of our culture, of the world around us. And these agreements can take form like, I'm not enough, I'm not worthy. That's an agreement at the identity level. I am not enough. That is who I am. That's my choice and my agreement. And so then that's the story that we live out time and time again. And so you can view beliefs as stories. The story is the narrative that you are perceiving reality through. So the incoming sense data of the belief is really like a story, like the narrative that you're watching on the screen. And then that story informs your emotional state, almost like you're watching a movie. The movie of the reality that's coming through your eyes is a very emotional one. Emotions and sensations come up all the time when you're watching a movie. It's very powerful and it's very captivating of our attention. And so stories capture our attention. And when we have a story of men are not safe, for example, that story is what captivates our attention. And so that's the story that we see play out in the world in front of us all the time. And because we're narrowly focused on the stories that we believe, we don't see other sense data that contradicts our story. And so we have to be extremely careful about the stories that we take on, because those stories subtly influence everything that we feel, everything that we see, everything that we take in and perceive. And so lastly, you can liken beliefs to spells. So what is a spell? Well, to me, a spell is really just an intention that is captured in language, that has a specific spelling, so it has specific words, enunciation, sound. And that sound, that intention, is then fueled with emotional energy. So again, the spell is an intention of language that is fueled with emotional energy. And so you can think of, I'm not good enough, like a spell that we cast on ourselves, and then we are spellbound by that intention. And it's almost like a force that's outside of our control. It's like there's some kind of magic force that's just causing us to operate caught within inside of that intention, spellbound. Whereas in reality, we're the one that's casting the spell on ourself. We're the magic being. We're the one that has the power to create those intentions and cauterize them into language and then fuel them with our life force energy, fuel them with emotion. That's our power. And we're generally doing it to ourselves unconsciously. And again, there's no right or wrong in it. We have the power to dispel all of the spells that we created long, long ago when we were kids. And that's our God-given right. That's our power. We're always free to choose our story. We're always free to break an agreement that is no longer valid for us. We're always free to dispel the old spells that we created, and we're always free to delete the programs that no longer serve us. So I hope that gives some context for a few different ways to look at beliefs that you might not have heard of before. And we'll look forward to sharing how to free yourself from all of these in the future modules. So God bless, Godspeed, namaste.